Hi, and welcome everybody to our research session in May. Nice that you all found the time to be here this afternoon or evening. I saw there are many participants from Kazakhstan, so I think it's 3 hours later, so really late. Here in Berlin, it's afternoon right now, and yeah, welcome. I am Camila. I work at Verbi, the software behind MAXQDA, and we are based in Berlin. And once a month, I organize this research session. The research sessions are an event from our community for our community, where exciting research projects and the use of our software are shared and discussed. And I am very happy to welcome our speaker today, Mariya. She is from Kazakhstan and a PhD candidate in education at Nazarbayev University. And also she's an active MAXQDA trainer in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. She's also the co-founder of QualiLab, a platform dedicated to strengthening research capacity in Kazakhstan and the broader Central Asia region. We are very happy and proud to have her in our community and as our speaker today, of course. And also, I am personally very excited about your talk and your research findings, Mariya. This talk will, the talk will last approximately 30 minutes. Afterwards, we have another 30 minutes for a Q&A section and discussion. So please feel free during the time when you maybe have a question, post it here in the Q&A bar below in Zoom, and then I can read them out loud later, and we have a little discussion when we want. The session will be recorded and also shared on YouTube afterwards and shared with you the link. Please note that the slides afterwards are not going to be shared. So if you want, you can take notes, of course. And yeah, with that said, I say let's start and dive into the topic of decoding parental language preferences with Mariya. And the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Mariya, and I'm a PhD candidate at Nazarbayev University. So my research interests lie in multilingual education, specifically in language and education policies in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. So today I'm going to present my PhD topic, which is about parents' language of instruction choices in urban Kazakhstan for their children. So today I'm going to start, just a minute. Yeah, on today's agenda, I'm going to start with background information, and then I will discuss a little bit about my research aim and research questions. And the focus will be on the methodology and demonstration of MAXQDA role in my data analysis. So this presentation is going to be a more methodological one rather than theoretical one. So I'm not going to discuss the literature review or conceptual framework of my PhD. So just to give you some information of what is Kazakhstan language policy and how parents choose the language of instruction for their children, I will start with the overall school choice. In Kazakhstan, parents have a choice, so they can choose any language and of instruction and any school, and usually it is going through 3-in-1 rule, which means that schools usually admit 3 students who reside within designated catchment area and 1 student from outside the area. And in terms of the language of instruction, we have state, we call them mainstream schools, and we have private schools. And within state schools, we have mainstream schools, lyceums, gymnasium, etc. And in terms of the language of instruction, I follow Firman's conceptual framework. He says that there are pure schools, which means that schools provide education in one language. And we have Kazakh-medium schools and Russian-medium schools. And also we have mixed schools, which means that 2 language tracks, Kazakh and Russian, are just located in one building and one area. It doesn't mean that the curriculum or language or the program educated in two languages. It's not an immersion or a dual language program. It's just two different language tracks. We also have trilingual schools, and I explain about them a little bit later. So these schools provide education in three languages. Some subjects are taught in Kazakh, some in Russian, in English. And we have schools with other languages as the medium of instruction, like Uzbek schools or Chinese schools. And why it is important for Kazakhstan, for Kazakhstani parents, because the language situation is really interesting and complex. So as you can see on this side, on this right side, that the dynamics is very interesting. Kazakh schools are now becoming like they are increasing in number, while Russian medium schools are decreasing. So let me tell you a little bit more about the language policy and why it became so hot and discussed topic in Kazakhstan. And it is very important for parents to choose the language of instruction. So during the Soviet times, it was a total Russian language hegemony. Because almost all Kazakh schools were closed, and Russian became mandatory for all schools, including the Kazakh and Russian schools. So the teaching of Kazakh language as a subject in Russian schools was halted, it was stopped. So after we as a country got independence, the government initiated Kazakhization policy, which means that Kazakh language received all-round support in almost every sphere, including education. So in terms of education and language policy and language and education policies, the number of Kazakh medium schools started to increase. And interestingly, that policy, Kazakhization policy, imprinted very positive perceptions on parents, because they grew skeptical of educating their children exclusively in Russian. So they started thinking about what if we start educating our children in our language, because Kazakh language is now the state and official language on par with the Russian one, but Kazakh is our national language. So when it comes to the next stage, starting from 2008, the country went for trilingual policy, which means that the first president Nazarbayev initiated this policy, and it means that our citizens have to be trilingual, because we already as a country bilingual. Most people can speak Kazakh and Russian, and because of the increasing and ubiquitous influence of English and globalization, the government added English. What does it mean in education? So almost 33 Darin schools, we call them, and a network of 20 Nazarbayev intellectual schools were created as trilingual schools. They received a lot of budget, a lot of resources, and they are considered in Kazakhstan as agents of changes and paragon schools, because they give education in three languages. English is used for STEM subjects, Russian, and some social science subjects like global perspectives. And there also Kazakh language is used for Kazakh history, geography, and some other subjects, while Russian is used for world history and some other subjects. Then seeing these good results and fruits from those children who study in those schools, the government decided to transfer that system to mainstream, to all state stream schools. However, that experience happened to be unsuccessful, because 2% of STEM teachers in mainstream schools were ready and prepared to teach the STEM subjects, physics, biology, and etc. in English. So now, if we're talking about the current situation, um, following the second President Tokayev's, we are on the stage of having bilingual strategy, Kazakh and Russian. However, we have these trilingual schools that are successfully operating. I mean that Darin, Nazarbayev, and some others who have built schools which also provide education in three languages. Um, and if you ask me why it is important for parents, for those parents who send their children to Kazakh medium and Russian medium schools in state mainstream schools, because there are also debates about the quality that those schools provide. For example, international indicators like PISA and PIRLS, I don't have still the results for the recent PISA results. 2022, but the 2018 results say that Russian mediums children, the children from Russian medium schools outperform children from Kazakh medium schools by different indicators. For example, in reading, they 2 years behind, I mean, Kazakh medium schools, and 1 year behind in math. So in terms of national indicators, we have the UNT test that the test the children pass after they graduate the school. So by those national indicators, the latest results say that in terms of the quality, Kazakh and Russian medium schools provide equally good education. So in terms of the scoring. So all that indicates very transforming, complex socio-political context and language of instruction choices that parents make, not just educational. It's not just about education. Those choices are deeply tied to identity, to opportunity, and to belonging. And in Kazakhstan, parents have to navigate those complex meanings in that transforming socio-political context that, as you can see, coming and transforming starting from the Soviet times. And those voices, I mean, parents' voices and rationales remain understudied, especially among ethnic Kazakhs, because now constitute the majority of population and majority of schools, as you see, are becoming more Kazakh medium. So I have some local papers from other researchers that only researched one city in Kazakhstan or researched a small provided small-scale researchers that focused around family language dynamics or family language policies. Therefore, I believe my study can contribute significantly to this topic in Kazakhstan and in similar multilingual contexts. Therefore, my research aim is to explore how and why ethnic Kazakh parents choose a particular medium of instruction, Kazakh or Russian, for their children in three contrasting regions of Kazakhstan. And specifically, I focus on the research questions such as what rationales guide parents' choices, what language ideologies are there behind those choices, and what non-linguistic forces, pressure, like social pressure, school quality, socioeconomic status, influence parents' decision-making process. And now I would like to focus more on the methodology, on the research design. Overall, it is a sequential exploratory mixed method design where the qualitative strand goes first. And I'm conducting research in three regions, in the northern, southern, and central Kazakhstan. Why I chose those regions is because northern parts of Kazakhstan are mostly Russian-speaking. The dominant part of people speak Russian, and in southern is vice versa. So in central and southern, people, according to the latest data, speak two languages, Kazakh and Russian, to different extent. Therefore, it is important to see these regional dynamics and see whether their thinking and their decision making differ across regions. So I conducted focus groups, and my data set include almost 50 ethnic Kazakh parents. So my thinking behind the focus group choice was that I can get more information-rich data from focus groups because they can underpin their thinking, their decision-making choices, or by having probably sometimes opposite opinions that can be enriched in focus groups. And I collected data in two languages, in Kazakh and Russian. People could mix the languages. Sometimes we usually do that in Kazakhstan. So I didn't restrict them in terms of the language they speak. They spoke in that language that was most comfortable for them. So my analytical framework follows Krasnov-Gattersman coding model, which means that I coded my data in two rounds. First, I started with the descriptive logic, and then I tried to make them more interpretive ones or more analytical to get the meaning from their thinking. And I did that in MAXQDA 24 software. So now let me talk more about the coding process and how I used the MAXQDA for my coding and for my analysis. So as I said, I started with the descriptive coding phase where I used, first of all, a priori codes, which means that I generated code book from my theoretical framework and literature review. And then I coded manually several transcripts, as you can see on my screenshot. And then I applied AI coding technique, which helped me to apply specific codes to new document. And it's based on natural language processing techniques, computational social science, and it understands what this code means, and then it can be applied to new documents, and it speeds up the coding process. Of course, I double checked everything. I tried to see whether this feature really understands the content and what can be actually be coded to that code, and it did really great job. So I really liked what it provided. The issue was that it provided and coded the question that I asked as an interviewer, and it coded the question. So I had to kind of clean and leave only the answers of my participants, but that was okay. After all, I mixed the deductive logic with the inductive logic. So I started to code manually because I used a semi-structured mode of my focus group protocol. And some interviews were not similar in nature, so they had different opinions. So I used inductive approach. After that, when I conducted and finished my descriptive coding process, I had to transfer them to interpretive one. So I had to transform and make codes to themes, categories and themes. And how I did that, I used first and foremost code matrix browser, as you can see on the slide. And what it gives, it helps you to inspect and identify which codes were more prominent in my data set. It is visually very good because you can see it in different modes. You can see it in percentages or in number, which provides code frequencies. And you can think, so probably some codes can be categories and can be themes. And then you can think about it, what next? what can you do next with this? But that kind of could be the very first stage of your data analysis in terms of transformation from descriptive to interpretive mode. After that, I used code relations browser, which actually very nice feature. It shows you how often codes occur in the same segments. So this feature actually helps you see relationships between codes and then find thematic connections. And this feature is going smoothly to code map. It is a visual representation of those overlaps in codes, but visually, yeah. So it was really nice. Here probably it might look messy, but you can actually pick the specific codes for your analysis and see whether there are overlapping ideas, overlapping codes. And here you can see the lines, and the thicker the line, the frequent co-occurrence is. So for example, civic responsibility and national identity, I shared them in one code, under the one code. So those became two subcodes. This helped me to create a hierarchy of codes and to see what I can do with small codes. I mean, that are unique and probably not relevant to my analysis, and etc. So after that, after I established a code hierarchy, I wanted to go deeper in my analysis. I wanted to see what I can do else with my data. And here, MAXQDA has some good features that allows you to do cross case and between case analysis. For example, on the slide, you can see the codes that I have, and I divided the parents' thinking, parents' answers by the language of instruction. I mean, by that language of instruction that their children are currently studied in. And that feature, when I started to read, gave me more understanding and more ideas how their thinking is different by the language of instruction. And if, for example, I read that just as a plain text with a mix of parents who send their children to Kazakh schools and or to Russian schools, that would be more difficult for me to understand and to get the pattern in terms of their specific code. And also I used another feature here, which is called sentiment analysis, also applied to civic responsibility, patriotism, and national identity. And it actually gives you an additional layer of interpretation because you can see whether that specific text segment was more positive, or slightly positive, negative, and etc. And here I hope you see that you can actually download every feature you do. I mean, in terms of the analysis, you can upload it as an Excel or Word document, and I did that. So I get this info sentiment analysis and upload it as an Excel file, download it as an Excel file, and then started to filter in terms of the language and see that really parents thinking are different in terms of how language of instruction is associated with those things. And this is one of my findings actually, and from these two features helped me to get this. So parents who chose Kazakh medium schools often view their decision as a civic duty rooted in patriotism, while those who chose Russian medium schools prioritized some other factors and expressed more neutral or critical views in terms of the association of the language of instruction and patriotic feelings and national language or national identity formation. though they emphasized the value of Kazakh language proficiency for their children. There are some other features I would like to highlight. For example, there is a code trends feature, and it actually visually shows you how often selected codes appear across documents or over time, for example. And what this feature does, it helps you identify shifts in data, or for me it was that it helped me to find some latent patterns in the data. This feature helped me uncover some subtle thematic developments across regions and across the language of instruction. Just to show you an example, here you can see some randomly picked codes and their dynamics in terms of the region. The first one represents northern region, the second one the central region, and the third one represents southern region. And this can actually give you some interesting ideas and patterns. And the last one I did is cluster analysis. So in the program there is a feature. It's called a mixed method in MAXQDA, and you can actually apply quantizing techniques. And since my overall project is of mixed method design, I applied some techniques, and this is one of them. So I conducted class analysis for qualitative data, and this helped me summarize overall findings of my qualitative strand, and identified 4 groups of parents. The pink cluster represents Kazakh language guardians. Specifically, that parents think that it is a natural process for them to choose Kazakh schools, because we have to respect our language and we have to send our children to Kazakh-medium schools and to form the national identity. So for them, it wasn't kind of even a choice. So they said, in Kazakh language, one parent used such a phrase, and I actually use that as an in vivo code and the name of that cluster of that group. But because here we have international audience, but still I will pronounce it. This group is called Kazakh language, or Kazakh tel janashara. So it means language guardians. So they protect it, and they think we have to choose because it's associated with the patriotic feelings, with the national identity and belonging. So the next one is pragmatic Russian preferent parents, which is represented and highlighted in purple color. And those ethnic Kazakh parents who chose Russian language for their children's education. The reason behind their choice was that they, as a parents, have a Russian linguistic background, and for them to choose Kazakh would be much more difficult, because in the primary school they have to help with their homework, and they couldn't do that because of these reasons. There are some 2 more groups, language balancers, which is a green cluster, and that group of parents represent bilingual parents who have 2 languages in their family management or language policy, bilingual language policy. Sometimes they describe it, and it appears that they have 1 language, 1 parent policy, where one parent is speaking Kazakh, another speaking Russian, or they mix languages, so they have this bilingual overall background. And overall, they choose a monolingual track, I mean Kazakh and Russian. They were thinking that 2 languages are equally important for their children's future, or this language also includes a gendered approach to choosing a school, which means that, as parents described, Kazakh and Russian schools are different in terms of culture. In terms of culture, they have different cultural features. For example, Kazakh-medium schools are more discipline-oriented. They provide and teach strict discipline, but at the same time they have more respect. So they teach more respect, while the Russian medium schools are more. They teach more freedom, uh, and this was one of the reasons for this group's parents to decide in terms of the language of instruction. And there is one more, which is also very interesting. It is called risk takers. Basically, those parents are Russian speaking parents, but they intentionally chose Kazakh medium schools because they said, as I said, it is very important for their children's future because now the 50% of pure schools are Kazakh medium schools, and within mixed schools, we don't know how many classes are Kazakh medium classes. So the majority, I can say the majority Kazakh medium schools, and now all paperwork is transferred to Kazakh language. So in the future, when our children grow up, they said everything will be in Kazakh. So if I want to give my child socioeconomic benefits and to ensure that he might have this capital in terms of socioeconomic benefits, it is very pragmatic for us to send my child, him or her, to Kazakh medium schools. So those were risk takers. And I think that's the same, but I would like to also mention that I use almost every function in the program. So this is a really good program. And yeah, these are my key takeaways in terms of the results. Parents' decisions are not binary, they are not just educational. They are shaped by a variety of reasons, by a web of ideologies, practicalities, and emotions. And their choices act as a proxy for broader hopes, fears, and social aspirations. And in terms of methodology, I would say that this software helped me go in depth in terms of analysis and in terms of getting those patterns. More importantly, it helped to provide those that good visual storytelling for complex theme. As you can see, the language situation is really complex, and to sufficiently indicate and demonstrate those choices, the program will help me. And the last one, but I think that is the most important one in the area of in the era when artificial intelligence is developing so fast. MAXQDA is really a game changer because it's breaking old news that we all, as a PhD students, read that qualitative analysis must be time and energy consuming. If you read Creswell, Maxwell, or Saldana, or any other books or resources on qualitative analysis, you definitely saw that quote that it's time and energy consuming. And I think that really this software can speed up your analysis. It can structure and it can organize so efficiently your data analysis and really help to get that latent patterns or latent relationships between your qualitative data. And that's it. If you want to have a deeper discussion on my topic, if you're interested in, you can contact me. These are my social media accounts and my email. And as Camila said, I'm a active MAXQDA trainer, and in the end of July we will have a really great course on qualitative data analysis with MAXQDA, and we will also involve very interesting and creative art-based visual approaches there. We will we already invited some stars in qualitative data analysis and art-based research. So you're all welcome to join it. If you join my social accounts, you will know every news about that course.